All right, let's get to our winners and losers from Week 8 in the NFL. I'll give you first go at this one. Who do you walk away from Week 8 with your winner, Jemai?
My winner this week is going to be the LA Rams, and I like them because, the NFC West is pretty much wide open.
Yeah.
The 49ers, they got the big win last night. The Arizona Cardinals got a victory, and the teams are pretty much neck and neck. It's arguably just based off of history, and then what you look at a roster and project that to be, I think it's one of the tougher ones in the league. But the Rams getting their pieces back, Cooper Kupp returned, and he was on the trade block. I can think of about 10 teams that can use a guy of his skill set. But coming back, putting that noise behind him, Puka Nacua also returning, and that guy has been a stud since he stepped onto an NFL field. I think combined those guys had, let me do the quick math here, 157 yards, a touchdown, and 12 catches. So getting Matt Stafford, we talked about feel earlier, and getting into the rhythm and the flow of a contest, and when you have those pieces, they help. So I like that Matthew Stafford had 4 touchdown passes. He threw for more than 1 touchdown for the first time this season. So it feels like they're turning a corner at the right time. And they're my winner from week number 8. But if I could have a 1A, I will say my 1A would be the Cleveland Browns and Jameis Winston. I mean, this guy threw for 300 and something yards, 3 touchdowns, and he just had an out-of-world experience, really turned back the clock to the type of player that we expected him to be coming out of Florida State. So to be able to take down a Ravens team, that was pretty big, but it'd be those 2 guys for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I like both winners, especially the Rams, to beat the Vikings on Thursday night. Like, that is a huge win for them as well because that Vikings team is legit. And coming off their first loss of the season, they're desperate. Jared Verse looked great for the Rams. Seeing Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back in the fold for Matthew Stafford. And it's fun watching Matthew Stafford continually be one of the best quarterbacks in the league for so long. He's done it. I think, what did he come in the league? 09? It was Calvin Johnson 07.
Yeah.
I think he was that 09 draft out of Georgia. 09. And since he stepped in, he's just been a sick gunslinger. I like that Rams pick. I'm piggybacking on you. I put the Browns down as well. Jameis Winston. Well, he stepped in, 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, a huge win over the Ravens. But this is a win for Browns fans, Browns coaches, Browns players. And what I want to hammer home, this is a win for everyone except the owners, the Haslams, because they went out and they gave Deshaun Watson that $230 million contract, 100% guaranteed. After not playing football for 700 days, and they kept forcing him in the lineup because obviously they're paying him that much. In his career so far for the Browns, he's averaged 177 yards per game, and he has 19 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. The last 3 guys that have spots started when Deshaun Watson's been out, Jacoby Brissett, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, they've averaged 268 passing yards per game. They have 28 touchdowns to 14 interceptions in 2 less games playing. And the last 6 starts by Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston, they've all broken 300 yards. Deshaun Watson hasn't done that once in his time in the Browns. It just shows how bad Deshaun Watson is, how bad that contract was, and how bad of owners the Haslams are, that they went and signed him to that. He didn't want to play for the Browns until they said, hey, it's 100% guaranteed. And then they kept forcing a great coach like Kevin Stefanski to play him. So I could have said the Haslams are my losers. I have someone else for my losers. But who do you have for your loser?
It sounds like they are. It certainly sounds like they are. I'm going to go with the New York Jets. They are my losers of this week because this was supposed to be their get-right game against the New England Patriots. But now, you heard Aaron Rodgers' comments post-game, and they have to get, comfortable with being in the darkness because that's what this – they have to find peace with the darkness because that's what this franchise is right now. Just 2-6 on the season. They fired Robert Saleh. I don't know if it was his fault, but they certainly haven't gotten right in his 3 games since his firing. The defense, they've allowed 85 points, 0 takeaways. I love Jeff Ulbrich. He's a ex-49er. He went to the University of Hawaii, so I got love for him being that 808 connection. But they haven't been getting it done, even now that he's taken the helm. And a lot of it has been really on the players on the field, the 22 guys who are on the field, either on offense or defense. And they traded for Davante Adams. He's been okay to this point, really hasn't been able to get any of the history of being in rhythm with Aaron Rodgers back into play. We haven't seen that just yet. And then, they're on a short week. So they really can't sulk and think about it because they're playing on Thursday night and they got the Houston Texans. I'm not sure what can happen this week, but you never know because in football, crazy things happen, and maybe they turn it around, but I just don't see it. I just don't see this franchise doing anything because they had a Super Bowl or bust expectation, I think, before the season started, and even more so trading for an elite wide receiver like Davante.
It's all in on them. Yeah, you're right. They fired the defensive head coach, and their defense has been terrible, and they're yet to get a win. For my loser, aside from the Haslams, I went with the Cowboys on this one. I mean, they get embarrassed on national stage. We see Trevon Diggs going at a reporter, basically telling him to hold D's right after the game. And what's crazy, that in that play, there was a catch and run by George Kittle, where Trevon Diggs is covering someone else. But as he turns around to see Kittle getting yards after the catch, he just kind of kept like jogging downfield and didn't try to make a tackle until the very last minute where Kittle almost scored. And in the sequence, what is nuts is that wasn't like at a press conference or like locker room availability. There's a cool down period for people that don't know, where the players get in the locker room. They're given like 15, 20 minutes to cool down. Media comes in and interviews them. Trevon Diggs saw that on his phone, on his timeline, walked out of the locker room to confront that reporter. So like, it wasn't even like he's getting held against a fire by the media and they're asking him questions. He literally goes, what was it? You want to talk about that tweet? You can't do what I do. And the tweet literally was, what is Trevon Diggs doing here? Compile that. With them now having 4 losses and given their last 3, Ravens, Lions, 49ers, all contenders, all great teams, but it's just the unraveling in that locker room for the Cowboys. Their superstars acting like this. I never mind laughing at Jerry Jones and the Cowboys because they're just shoved down our throat. So to me, they're the loser on this one. On top of, that was a defense that let the 49ers run for 223 yards on the day, and Brock Purdy just have a day through the air. Again, with all these weapons out, all these guys in and out of their lineup, the 49ers still showed up and the Cowboys did not.
Yeah, that's absolutely absurd. I mean, you got guys looking at Twitter and tweets now from reporters and then going after them post-game. That's just loser behavior. That's what poverty franchises do. You can't be having that happen. You can't be doing that, especially when you're the Dallas Cowboys. You're America's team, right?
Yeah.
And people don't look at you to be that. I'm not going to give them too much slack, though, because I did not expect them to beat the 49ers this week.
Yeah.
I feel like Dallas is one of those teams that, as you talked about, always push down our throats. So there's this expectation narrative that is spun on this squad. But I'm not sure if they really have the pieces to make it happen this year. Micah Parsons going down was probably huge for their defensive strategy and some of their scheming, because that is an elite pass rusher. But I really haven't seen it from Dak either. And he's almost regressed since he secured his bag too. I feel like, there could be more, even though they did come back in that game, and him and CeeDee Lamb were able to take advantage of some blown coverages against the 49ers. But I feel like I need to see more from Dak, and they were a loser on Sunday, not only in the win column, but also off the field.
They were losers on the chat, and I don't think there's a bigger L to be handed out than when we call you loser and our winners and losers. And I agree, like the Parsons point, the Saints ran all over them when Mike and Parsons is on the field. This has been a season-long issue for them. But that is a great point. Like, you're without a Michael Parsons, but also like we haven't seen the answers at all. And Dak and CD were great, but then Dak ends the game with like 4 straight incompletions.
Yeah.
It was a 30-24 final. They made that push at the end, but we see what a great and sound franchise does, like the San Francisco 49ers, compared to a franchise like the Cowboys, where all they can push on is what happened in the past. They have nothing currently working for them.